Chapter 43, Silent Revelation. I was about to look at the sheepskin booklet to see what it contained when I remembered Shirley Yang was still tied up and lying on the ground. Setting the booklet aside, I prepared to untie her, despite her dreams repeatedly featuring the ghost cave, which was quite strange. She likely wasn't possessed or the reincarnation of a demon queen. Treating her this way felt excessively harsh. Shirley Yang, tied and on the ground, her face smeared with dirt and tears, resembling a heavily made-up Beijing opera actress, grew angry when she saw me approach. "Damn old who, untie me fast." I briefly explained everything to her. Then, gritting my teeth, I gave Shirley Yang a slap across the face before undoing the belt that bound her hands. It was a last resort, and I had no other option. "You can hit me back if you want. Hit me as much as you like," I said, then turned my head to the side, bracing myself to be slapped by Shirley Yang. I was prepared for her to not stop until I lost a couple of teeth. Unexpectedly, Shirley Yang wiped the dirt from her face and chose not to strike me. Instead, she said, "I don't want to argue right now. We can settle this later. Finding a way to escape is the priority." Shirley Yang then took out a small box from her carry-on bag, containing a couple of tiny pills. After sniffing one in front of her nose, she offered two to Fatty and me, suggesting we smell them too. Shirley explained, "These are capsules of highly concentrated alcohol mucilage with a strong odor that stimulates the frontal lobes of the brain through the nasal mucosa, keeping you alert. They're often used as an aid in drug rehabilitation to counteract withdrawal symptoms. Adventurers usually carry a few when exploring the wilderness, just in case. In extreme hunger and fatigue, it can stimulate the brain to prevent unconsciousness. But they shouldn't be used frequently in a short period, or they might have severe negative side effects. Whether it's effective against the corpse flowers illusions, I do not know. Considering the corpse flowers method of inducing illusions through the senses, and the fact that these illusions originated from the brain's neural center, the stimulant Shirley Yang offered might somewhat help counteract the hallucinatory effects." I gave Fatty a pill and took one myself. Immediately, I sniffed it sharply, and an indescribably foul stench flooded my nasal passage, making me cough repeatedly. But suddenly, I felt my previously foggy mind clear up considerably, and I felt quite relieved. I complained, "With something this effective on hand, why didn't you bring it out sooner? On the stone bridge, a few of these could have spared us from the demonic flowers illusion, and we wouldn't be trapped here now, caught between a rock and a hard place." Shirley Yang responded, "It was only after you ran back from the stone bridge and explained the situation that we knew the corpse flower could induce hallucinations in those who climbed the bridge. Then, we were immediately attacked by countless black snakes. With only a few minutes to react, we had no idea those snakes were also an illusion created by the flower. Moreover, I think the corpse flower's power is not that simple. It seems to have a direct influence on the human psyche. If you're too close, I suspect this medicine might not be very effective." Of the 5 who entered the tomb of the sage, only Chen and Yi were not in their right mind. One stimulated to insanity and the other knocked unconscious. Now, Yi Sin is dead, and Professor Chen is delirious, no longer deceived by the corpse flower. It reminds us of the British expedition that once entered the ruins of Jingjue, where the sole survivor ended up mad, probably having witnessed the horrific scene of his companions killing each other. As for Professor Chen, the drastic emotional swings within a single day must have been overwhelming. Grieving the death of his assistant Hal Aigua, then finding one shocking discovery after another in Jingjue, and suddenly encountering the gruesome death of his 2 students. The extreme joy and sorrow would be a staggering blow to anyone's psyche, let alone someone of his age. In the end, his nerves collapsed, and he completely lost his sanity. Thinking about all this, I nodded gravely to Shirley Yang. That corpse flower is indeed formidable, but fortunately, our close unity prevented us from falling for its schemes. We avoided the tragedy of turning on each other. Looking back, the thought is terrifying, but thankfully, with good luck and the protection of the sage, we avoided a catastrophe. Shirley Yang's expression suddenly darkened as she spoke sternly to me. "Tuba Yi, you're really crafty, shifting all your mistakes clean off your shoulders. You know how much I trusted you, yet you've lied to me. haven't been honest, and even suspected me of being some kind of monster. Have you ever considered how I feel? Do you have any idea what it's like to be tied up by you too, like an animal waiting for slaughter? Holding my head, I winced. Ouch, that's not good. My head hurts again. I need to sit down for a bit. Fatty, quickly show Miss Young the ancient sheepskin book of the sage and see if there's any strategy for getting out of here. With that said, I took the chance to slip away next to Professor Chin, not daring to speak with Shirley Young anymore. Thankfully, Shirley Young wasn't the sort to hold a grudge once she had the upper hand. Seeing me slip away, she didn't press further and began earnestly examining the sage's ancient sheepskin booklet page by page. I moaned inwardly about my bad luck. With Shirley Yang's temperament, I doubted she would spare me easily after today's actions. So many people had died, and it looked like the hard-earned money Fatty and I hoped for was gone. Damn it. Why was my luck so wretched that even drinking cold water would cause me to choke? Curiosity about the content of the ancient booklet gnawed at me. Seeing the seriousness on Shirley Yang's face, I could not tell if she was happy or worried. But since the sage had foreseen our return to his tomb and the opening of the stone chest, he surely left something behind for us. Unable to contain my curiosity any longer, I asked, "What does the sage's book contain?" Holding the sheepskin booklet, Shirley Young flipped through, noting, "It's all paintings drawn by the sage, with much content about the ghost cave." I never wanted to think about the ghost cave again. What was most important to me was finding a way out. But, not wanting to rush Shirley Young, all I could do was listen patiently to her. She explained, "To understand the whole story, I have to start from the beginning, otherwise the final drawings might not make sense." The beginning talks about an ancient sacred mountain in the western regions, which is the Zaglama mountain we're currently on. Surrounded by dense river networks and rich in flora and fauna, here live 4 tribes. Fatty and I exchanged a look, both inwardly groaning that this American girl was going to recount everything from the start. We were both anxious to find out how to leave this cramped and oppressive tomb chamber, but neither of us dared to voice our impatience. We just paced restlessly, glancing at each other, overwhelmed with urgency. Shirley Young continued her story, saying, "The good times didn't last long. People discovered a bottomless cave within Zaglama Mountain. No one could reach its bottom, and everyone wanted to understand what kind of world lay inside. One of the 4 tribes had a high priest who ordered the creation of a jade-eye orb, hoping to use the power of the true gods to see whether the abyss was auspicious or evil. During a major ceremony, not only was nothing seen at the bottom of the abyss, but a series of calamities began to strike. The high priest was struck blind and died an untimely death. Then, frightening serpents emerged, threatening the safety of people and livestock. These snakes, numerous in quantity, bore an odd eye on their heads and were highly venomous, causing the death of countless creatures. The 4 tribes elected 2 saints blessed by the true gods, who, along with the tribe's warriors, killed the mother snake, a creature with a human head and snake body, complete with 4 limbs. It hatched eggs that resembled eyeballs, each capable of producing hundreds of strange snakes. If left unchecked, the consequences would be unimaginable. Fatty and I were amazed. Good Lord. There were such creatures with human heads and snake bodies in ancient times? Lucky we didn't come across them. They would have been tough to deal with. Shirley Young speculated. It's possible that the saints did kill the snakes, but a serpent creature with a human head and body may not have existed. Ancient people often exaggerated significant events, like the wars between the Flame Emperor and the Yellow Emperor against Chiyu, which may have been no more than a few hundred people fighting but were depicted as epic battles including a host of gods and beasts. I gave a thumbs up in approval. That's a profound insight. Can you tell us what happens next, and quickly? Shifting her gaze towards me, Shirley Young proceeded. After the serpents were purged, the saints threw their carcasses into the abyss beneath Zaglama Mountain. Through divine revelation, the saints learned that this cavern was a pit of catastrophe, and the jade-eye orb had unlocked the door to disaster. Afterwards, a prophet, a child with the ability to foresee the future, was born in one of the tribes. And next are the sage's prophecies about the future of Zaglama Mountain. After the saints of the tribes passed away, they were buried in Zaglama Mountain, and the prophet could predict significant events thousands of years ahead, but only in the vicinity of Zaglama Mountain. This may be because the tribe's revered saints were buried here, and the prophet's powers were granted by the saints and the true God. Finally, getting to the crux of the matter, I listened intently to Shirley Yang's words. Our survival and escape from this accursed place rested upon the prophet's revelations. My heartbeat sped up in anticipation. Shirley Yang said, "Don't be so tense." As I skimmed through earlier, there seemed to be details in the latter part of the book that could guide us out of Zaglama. But to understand them fully, we have to consider the earlier content. Don't rush. Let's take things step by step. As we were engrossed in the conversation, Professor Chen, eyes bulging, pointed at the sheepskin book in Shirley Yang's hands and exclaimed, "Don't read the contents at the end."